We're going to continue talking about arithmetic with vectors by talking about how to add vectors using their component form. So we have two vectors, u and v, in their component form. The sum of the vectors will be the sum of the components, now in its own component form. Visually, this should look similar to what we did in class, where we take the x component of 1, let's take the blue vector here, and the x component of the second one here, and that becomes the x component of the resultant vector, or the sum. The same thing works going in the y direction. The y component of one, the y component of the other, and that becomes the y component of the sum, or the resultant, which we can draw over here on this side to make the right triangle a little bit more obvious. If we want to know the magnitude of the sum, then we would have to take this quantity squared here and this quantity squared, add them and take the square root. Let's take an example here. If we figure out what u1, u2, v1, v2 are, then we can come up with the sum of the components. So u1 is 2, u2 is 2, v1 is 3, v2 is 1. So v plus u is going to be equal to 2 plus 3, and then I'll switch colors, 2 plus 1, which becomes, as the sum here, which would look like this graphically, 5, 3, and we can see that we get 5 as our x component and 3 as our y component. Scalar multiplication, and there's other types of multiplication with vectors, but we'll start with scalar, and there's a typo, is multiplying a scalar quantity, k, that's a non-vector, and the components of vector, for example, u. If we have a vector a in the diagram here, 2a is in the same direction, but twice as long. So same direction, which we haven't really talked about, but same direction, different magnitude. If we have a negative scalar, it goes in the opposite direction. So negative k, opposite direction. So 180 degrees around. They form a line together, but this would be 180 degrees apart. I'm going to do the first two, and then I'll leave the last one for you to try. This is going to seem very easy, because we're not going to do too much with it yet. The component form of u plus v will be -1 plus 4 and 3 plus 7, which gives us 3, 10. 3u is equal to 3 times -1 and 3 times 3, which simplifies down to -3, 9. So you're going to try this one on your own. The homework associated with this is page 488, 13 through 20. You also should already have the classwork assignment that's going to go with this. You can try working on it before you get to class, and then you can ask me questions there if you want.